This time on Movie Reviews, we're going to be looking at two newly released Netflix films, The Other Side of the Wind and Outlaw King. The Other Side of the Wind was directed by Orson Welles and is his final film, and is the story of this director that's trying to get a movie made, and it's filmed in this mockumentary type style as it deals with the last day of production on it before he dies. And it deals with all the drama and complications of this director as there's a woman trying to figure out who exactly he is, and the producers are trying to figure out what the film is about. Going into this film, I was really interested just because it's deemed as Orson Welles' final film. Now, Orson Welles is long past, but he had several films in production within around the 70s that never got completed, and this is one of those films. He'd been working on this film since several years in the 70s and had hours and hours of footage, and this is just a way of kind of putting the footage together into the film that he wanted, or at least we hope he wanted. And altogether, it's a very fine film. I was kind of let down a little bit. I'm not too much into the mockumentary style of films, but I found this one enjoyable enough. John Huston is in it, and he plays the director, and he is incredibly good in this film. He's very just dry and thinks himself above everyone else. He's making this very art house style film that the producers and the editor even isn't exactly sure what's going on in the film, and throughout the film you see them watching it, and you get to see some of the clips, and yeah, I don't even know what's going on. There's even a scene in the film where the producer is sitting down watching an edited version of the film, and he's like, what's going on in this film? And then the editor is trying to explain, and he's like, I actually don't know. And the whole idea is they think he's just making it up as he's going. And I really like John Huston in this film just because of how much of an asshole he seems. He's just this director that knows what he wants, and he'll do whatever he wants to get the performance he wants, to get the movie made. And it's a really interesting look at the process of filmmaking and how hectic it is behind the camera. I think that's something that this film does very well, which is dealing with the drama behind the camera. And it's really interesting. However, it's a tad too long. It's about 2 hours long, and it's just a little too long. It drags a little bit, and it's very slow. It can be kind of boring at times, but it does have flashes of really good stuff in it, and it can be really funny at times. I mentioned the scene with the producer not understanding what the film is about. That's a really funny scene. I like the film overall. I just don't think it's one of the best films of the year, and of the three Orson Welles films that I've seen, Touch of Evil, Citizen Kane, and this, I would definitely rank this third. I think it's definitely a weaker film, but it has some very good artistic and just really good film overall. It's just not my cup of tea, but I say if you have Netflix, check it out just so you can finally see Orson Welles' final film until maybe they find another film he was working on and put that footage together. But yeah, that's all my thoughts on this one. So anyway, I'm going to give The Other Side of the Wind a 7 out of 10. Next, we have Outlaw King, directed by David Mackenzie and starring Chris Pine, and is the story of Robert the Bruce of Scotland as he leads a rebellion against the King of England, set several years or just right after the events of basically Braveheart. This is basically a sequel to Braveheart in a lot of ways. It takes place right after William Wallace's rebellion and deals with Robert the Bruce. And honestly, this film I've been really interested in for a while because I love historical epics. I love just medieval stuff, and this was just right up my alley. And I'd been seeing kind of the mixed reactions to this film. It currently holds like a 50 something on Rotten Tomatoes, so critics are kind of half and half about this film if they like it or don't. And honestly, I really like it. It's not a perfect film. It's got some pacing issues, but overall, I think it's very good. It's very well made, and this is one of the best looking Netflix films I've seen. This looks like a film that should be in the theaters. I wish it was in the theaters because the battles in this movie are really, really well done and are worthy of a big screen. Um, it's very beautiful too. Just the cinematography is fantastic with the landscape shots and just the way the film looks. I also love the costume design. The colors in this film just really pop off the screen and look really good. The film can look a little too clean at times, but honestly, that doesn't bother me too much. I just really like seeing a film that's not drab and gray and just really pops with its colors. Also, Chris Pine is really good. Florence Pugh is fantastic as Robert the Bruce's wife. She was in Lady Macbeth last year, which was a film I really liked, and she was really good in that, and she's really good here. And she plays this very strong wife that is very opinionated and wants to get into the politics that her husband is in, but she just can't, and he doesn't want her in his politics, even though she tries so hard. Chris Pine is also very good in this film. He gives a very commanding performance, some epic speeches, and just a very real performance. And honestly, the actors in their roles are better than the characters scripted. A lot of the characters are a little one note and not particularly that interesting, but the actors do their best to make these characters a whole lot more likable and a little bit more interesting and some oomph to them. Other than that, they're not that interesting, but oh well. Also, about the battles, I love how violent and bloody they are. They're just very. They feel very raw when you watch them. They're very intricate and just a whole lot of fun to watch, even though, you're seeing people violently murdered. It shows the brutality of war a little bit, and it's not as over the top as something like Braveheart is with its violence. I think this film is very underappreciated. I think this film is just a pretty good film overall, with some problems, of course. When this film premiered at TIFF earlier this year, it was standing at about 137 minutes, and a lot of critics said that the film had some pacing issues and was very slow, and that was a lot of the criticism of the film. And so Mackenzie came back and edited out about 20 minutes of footage, and I think the pacing is a little still shoddy in some places, but overall it flows pretty well. I would just be really interested in seeing what was all cut from this film. There was about 20 minutes cut, and on top of that, I wonder how many minutes was cut before that cut, because we might have a 3 hour film on our hands. I don't know. I think it's really interesting how people edit films. But overall, I think this is just a very good film that is very underappreciated with some good acting, but don't expect great, fantastic characters in this film. But it is a very beautiful movie and one of the best looking Netflix movies I've seen. So, anyway, I'm going to give Outlaw King a 7 out of 10. Well, guys, I want to thank you for watching this review. I was really interested in watching these two films, and I didn't want to do just two separate videos, and I thought, why don't I just do a combo review of two Netflix films that I really want to talk about? So, I'm glad I did this, and I might do this in the future with other Netflix films, or just other movies in general that I want to talk about. So, yeah, that's really all I got to say about this. So anyway, guys, with all that said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.